Someone once told me that the reality I thought I knew was just one of many.
Be careful which path you travel down. Stronger than you have lost their way.
You think there will be no consequences?
We're in the end game now.
I sacrificed everything, and it meant nothing.
Oh, Strange. What have you done?
I never meant for this to happen.
You cannot control everything.
You brought this on yourself.
You break the rules and become a hero. I do it and I become the enemy. This doesn't seem fair.
Welcome to the Hollywood Outsider, an award-winning entertainment podcast on TV and film. This episode, we're doing something special and talking all about the much-anticipated, at least for some, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We're going to start spoiler-free, and then we'll move into all things spoilery with fair warning for all. If you've never listened before, be sure to find the other episodes on your favorite podcast app. We just had our summer movie preview, which covers all the big releases for summer of 2022, as well as we've got all kinds of stuff. Just check the feed. You will find something that entices you. I'm going to be your Sorcerer Supreme for this special episode. I'm Aaron Peterson, and with her dark magic hands at the ready, our Scarlet Witch, Amanda Sink, is here.
Hello, hello. I'm so excited for this.
And just the two of us, if you listen to our regular show, John Davenport lives too far from a theater, apparently, right now to go see this. And Troy was not able to see it in time for this podcast. So it's just Amanda and I, which, to be honest, she is one of the biggest Scarlet Witch fans I know. So I think it's apropos.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, to be fair, we've only given them like 2 Showtime options to choose from because the movie just released. It just dropped.
It did.
It's Thursday night. We're recording this right after we saw our screening.
Yes. We've had time to digest it, though. I had time to soak it in.
Mm-hmm.
Soak it in. And let me tell you, I am a huge Sam Raimi fan. So it's a nice combination. We've got a huge Scarlet Witch fan. What we're missing is a huge Doctor Strange fan.
Are there big Doctor Strange fans?
I think so. I mean, you're going to have to be because apparently he's shepherding the next collection of the Marvel movies. That's what Kevin Feige's saying. He's the leader.
I don't know about that.
I mean, he's even got his...
We'll talk about this.
Really, if you look at his goatee, he's even got it Tony Starkish, right? It's almost like he's ready to... He's got that where it's very sharp edges, and yeah, it looks like he's ready to go. He's like, I'm the next Downey. Where's my Downey money?
He could, honestly, it is the multiverse. He could be anything he wants. He could be Iron Man in another multiverse, I guess. I don't know. The rules aren't super clear. Dr. Iron Man.
Yeah, the rules really aren't because apparently some people are different characters or the same. They look completely different in multiverses, and other ones, they're exactly the same. Elizabeth Olsen is the same in every universe, apparently. But
Yeah. It's super, super weird. And I mean, I know we're going to talk about this at some point. It's going to come up, but I feel like it should also be prefaced that there are some characters that apparently don't have any other copies of them in the multiverse. Like who determined what these rules were? I don't feel like they're making much sense to me.
I believe there was a dartboard and there were random darts that were just thrown.
You get a copy. You get a copy. You get a copy.
In fact, much of the plot of this, I'm pretty sure was already resolved in WandaVision, but here we are. So here we are. Let's get to it. But first, we want to talk about spoiler-free because many people that listen to the podcast might not have been able to see the movie or have seen the movie. So we're going to give our succinct discussion or thoughts on Doctor Strange 2. So how do you feel about Doctor Strange and Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch? What do or don't you like about them?
I love the concept of Doctor Strange, but I don't feel like his execution has really made me gravitate towards his character. I've never been really interested in what he has to say or what he does, even though I'm much more drawn to the magic and superpower sort of thing that he holds.
Jazz hands?
Versus...
He's got jazz hands.
He's got jazz hands. Versus some of the other characters who are just all robust strength. Like, that is normally where I'm drawn to, hence why I'm so drawn to Scarlet Witch. But for some reason, there's something about him that just doesn't make me excited. I will say that if you watched What If, where there are different Doctor Stranges, I do like when Benedict Cumberbatch gets to go a little less proper and polite Doctor Strange. He gets to go a little darker. I feel like that makes him a more interesting character. But otherwise, he just feels like that one person that you work with who abides by all the rules. Like, there's no room to stretch them whatsoever, unless it works for him. If he wants to stretch the rules, he can do it, but nobody else can.
Feels right. Feels good. I like that.
And obviously Scarlet Witch is my favorite. She is my absolute favorite. I'm so happy that they're giving her a proper and full introduction into the MCU, because we've not had that.
Is this a proper and full introduction? I mean,
she got a show and basically a movie. This movie is realistically about her.
It is. it is, but I do think that, how do I do this? Is the spoiler-free portion, but I'm going to get in the spoiler-free portion. I will get into it a lot more detail, but I will say,
okay,
much of her storyline. You know what? Explain the storyline so I can speak to it a little bit, I guess.
Oh yeah, we should probably tell people what the movie's about.
Yeah, what the movie's about.
So, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness follows the events of the Disney Plus series WandaVision. Dr. Stephen Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens the doorway to the multiverse, including alternate versions of himself whose threat to humanity is too great for the combined forces of Strange, Wong, and Wanda Maximoff. Full disclosure, a full warning, I feel like you need to know this before going to see the movie. It is wholly a horror film. This is Sam Raimi, who's doing some awesome stuff here, but I would be a little conservative on what age children you take to see this. It's not like the other MCU movies. This is very dark.
That's very nice of you. I was raised in horror movies. Take your kids. Take them. I don't care how little they are. Take little Billy. Take him. Make him a serial killer. Let's go. It's Sam Raimi, and he's one of the best horror directors of all time. Now that you got the synopsis out of the way. Okay, so Doctor Strange, my feelings are very similar. Good character. I'm less inclined to enjoy the magic portion because I just go jazz hands every time they're, it's just different versions of how do they do circles? How do they wax on? How do they wax off? That's basically what they're doing most of the time. But I still enjoy Benedict Cumberbatch. He's a good actor. It's just not a character that I love. I like him actually a lot more when he was in the first movie, when he was kind of more the character from the comic books, which is kind of a jerk. And here he's a lot more likable. I think he's a lot more likable. I still enjoy him in this, but I do find him to be a lot more likable in this movie than I think the character has been to this point. Now, in terms of Scarlet Witch, what I was trying to allude to is a big part of the storyline is how Wanda Maximoff, is wanting to unite with her children. Is that fair? That's not really a spoiler because that's...
No, it's not a spoiler at all. And it's important information to know going into the movie if you didn't watch WandaVision.
But in WandaVision, they reconciled that whole storyline.
It
was resolved. It was literally resolved. Her humanity was restored and this storyline was resolved. So to me, I'm like, did Kevin Feige not watch his own show? Because that would be weird. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like you should follow suit. But I'll get into more of that in the spoiler. So, that's what I think about the characters. I'm sorry. Continue so we can wrap up our spoiler free and get into the good stuff.
Well, and one thing that I would say is with his likable / unlikableness, I think it is really just, he's not a jerk. He's just arrogant. He has very strong Tony Stark vibes in a different way where he knows that he's one of the smartest, most powerful people to ever exist. And like that sits on you a little bit. He's not as egotistical as Tony Stark by any
but
means.
He was. But I feel like, he was in the first movie. I feel like he was just
arrogant. He wasn't as egotistical as Tony Stark, in my opinion. But he had like that same kind of personality where it's like, I know he's a Sagittarius. He's like, I know that I'm perfect.
I do this better than everybody else. Let me do it. I'm the one that should be doing it.
Yeah. Basically. I mean, that's kind of all it is.
That's fair.
I feel like we should also talk about what stuff is necessary for people to watch or read before coming into Doctor Strange.
Well, you can watch WandaVision, but I don't think it matters. I mean, I really don't. I firmly believe that. And all that. Well, these are all connected. Well, yeah, they reference the events in WandaVision and pretend to that there was no resolution in that show. That was weird. But yeah, the Doctor Strange movie, of course, you got to see Endgame. I think any of the MCU films where Doctor Strange was in them, I think you probably should see. And you really don't need much of Wanda except maybe the same Endgame and Infinity War, right? Those are really the two you need to know, and then the show.
Yeah,
WandaVision.
yeah. I mean, I would say if you're not going to watch all of WandaVision, maybe just watch the last episode of it to kind of get an idea. I feel like that really summarizes.
See where she
you'd
evolves.
be thrown into a loop.
Because she does do an
see
evolution
where she
there.
falls off at, because this is, and Spider-Man, because there are some events that tied to the most recent Spider-Man. No Way Home?
Yes.
The third one?
Yes. They should watch Spider-Man No Way Home just because. Like, I don't care. It has nothing to do with this. Just go watch it. It's fantastic. Damn it.
But I feel like that's also where we get some of our complications for this multiverse, because that Spider-Man made us feel like the rules were one way, and are they still the same? I don't know.
There's officially no rules. They've opened up the multiverse so that Marvel could say, we can literally do whatever we want. We're bringing back characters from bad TV shows now. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So, I mean, they're all over the place. And I'll tell you who that is once we roll over, because I don't want to, just in case.
Yeah, that's fair. I would also say if you're very interested in learning more about how powerful and kind of where a lot of the storylines come from for Scarlet Witch, read House of M. That will give you a lot of information, because essentially what happens in there is you see she can completely change reality. She can wipe out all mutants with one phrase. Like, that's how powerful she is. And that's what I've been excited to see on screen, and in such a dark, mysterious way that we're going to talk about in the spoilery part here coming up soon.
She's a little crazy in the comics, right? She's a little crazy.
I wouldn't even really say it's crazy. It's just, she does have some like mental instability when it comes to the abandonment of her family. She is very much so someone who can keep everything pretty well together, but when she loves someone, she loves them so hard that their absence just deteriorates her mentally.
Yeah, I've dated
really
somebody like that,
about.
and I call them crazy. But I understand.
Yeah, she does do some crazy things, that's for sure.
All right, so what's your quick thoughts and your score on this one?
There's a lot that I really, really liked. There are a few things that we've kind of briefly touched on that just didn't seem to add up for me. For the most part, I feel like it made sense what happened in this movie, but I also felt similarly to you, where it's like, why are we coming back to this story of Wanda being so distraught that she's trying to find a way to reconnect with her children? Like, that was the whole point of those 8 or 9 episodes in WandaVision. So that's a problem. But I will say the performances in this film are much more heightened and realized than I thought that they would be. I was a little worried when we have a multiverse where characters are playing the same version of themselves just in another reality, that it might become too big and kind of just like trying to be too much, or it would be too basic, where it's like, is there really anything different in their personalities? And at least for a few, and I won't say who, but at least for a few of the characters, I really felt that they tackled having different identities.
Yes, I would agree with that, and I would add that I find this to be, you talked about it being a holy horror film. I totally agree with that. I was pleasantly amazed that the filming is so Sam Raimi-esque. And I keep saying his name, and you might not even
totally.
Right,
Yes.
He directed the first 3 Spider-Man movies, the Evil Dead series, Darkman. He's done a ton of films, and his style is very, very unique. And it's probably the first time in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe where I can look at a movie and go, I know that style. Like, if you wouldn't have told me Sam Raimi directed it, I would have known 10 minutes into it. And Scott Derrickson did the first Doctor Strange. I thought his direction was very flat and basically just basic Marvel. I know some people don't agree, but it's what I thought. Sam Raimi is 10 times the director of Scott Derrickson. I'm sorry, but Scott Derrickson's the guy you call.
Totally.
He's basically like, I wanted to go to Macy's, but Walmart's closer. That's Scott Derrickson to me. So Sam Raimi is Macy's. He's a higher caliber store. And Macy's not even that high a caliber. It's just the only one I can think of that costs more than a Walmart. I don't know why I'm in that. But anyway, Sam Raimi's a great director. So I saw his style throughout. The movie is tight. It flows. It moves. It's a very innovative, creative, things are constantly popping film. Visually, it's stunning. The effects are stellar. I found Elizabeth Olsen's performance to be really moving, even though I felt like she already gave it.
That's fair.
Benedict Cumberbatch was very talented. There's a wonderful nod to Evil Dead, several nods to Evil Dead in here, which I love. And there's a great cameo, which is also kind of a nod. And so, yeah, it's really an improvement from the first Doctor Strange, in my opinion. So if $10 is the full price of admission, what are you giving Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness?
Thank you for bringing up the creativity, because there were some really weird, but also very, very cool things that happened in here. I'm going to give it 850.
I'm going 750.
Okay.
750. And I'd probably give it a little bit more, but it's still the magic, the jazz hands. I mean, it's always, when you're having a fight with circles, that doesn't do a whole lot for me. But the way that Raimi shot this is very, very innovative, and it keeps flowing. So that makes me a lot more engaged than it probably would have been otherwise. Now, we're going to go ahead and move in to some other things. Now, you can always find out more about us at thehollywoodoutsiders.com, where our Rotten Tomatoes accredited written reviews are located. And if we get anything wrong, or you just want to chastise us, on Twitter, @BuyPopcorn. We're on Facebook, The Hollywood Outsider, and our email is feedback@thehollywoodoutsiders.com. We are releasing this episode to kind of coincide with the release of Doctor Strange, so it's coming out much earlier in the week than it normally would be, and we will return on May 18th with another new episode. If you missed us before then, you can always sign up at patreon.com/thehollywoodoutsiders to support the show, get instant access to hundreds of hours of unedited bonus content, including our show Bad Movie Night, where we talk about a movie that critics or fans didn't like, but we think might not be such a bad movie. Our next one is Grown Ups. Should be fun. Patreon.com/thehollywoodoutsiders. Now, I am turning this over to Amanda to lead the discussion from here on out, because she's obsessed with Scarlet Witch. And this is going to be spoilery.
Woo!
Not spooky.
Well, hey, this movie kind of is spooky.
It is.
So welcome to our spoiler segment. We're going to talk about all of the characters. We're going to talk about all of the plot points, everything we thought about this movie. If you haven't watched it, turn away now. You have been warned at least twice. I can only do so much warning for you before it's just your fault.
Can I just chime in? Turn away. They could still hear it. If they turn their head, they're still like, I can right now. I can still hear you. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay. All right. You know what I meant.
I got you. Kind of. Yeah.
Little sassy pants.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about how we felt about this movie in comparison to the first Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel about it in comparison to all of the MCU films?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Middle tier, a little upper, but you know what? Closer to the top tier. I don't know. There's so many movies now. It's hard to tell like how many makes it in the top third.
Seriously.
I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. I enjoyed it more than any of the Thors. Probably not as much as Guardians, not as much as Cap, more than the second and third Iron Man. So yeah, probably top third. And a lot of that has to do with the creativity, the direction, and just Wanda blowing shit up, including people's heads.
I was going to say, including everyone's brain, their skull, all the guts.
Yes.
Like,
oh, God.
So brutal.
I don't know
amazing.
how this is PG-13, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't either. I'm like, about halfway through, I turn them to my wife and I'm like, is this rated R? Did I miss this? Did Marvel actually do a rated R movie? Is Deadpool going to show up? Because that would be awesome. And,
that would be cool.
Yeah, but no, they got away with PG-13. And I don't know how they did it. And even though you kind of warned people and I laughed about it, because I would take my kids. I didn't care. But yeah, there's going to be some surprised parents like, hey, nobody said exploding heads were part of the deal.
Seriously, and like gruesome zombies and these spirit ghost things that look really haunting. They're even creepier for sure than Death Eaters from Harry Potter, in my opinion. Like they're just very Sam Raimi, and that's like the best thing about this movie, because I cannot picture. There's maybe one or two other directors, but certainly none who have done an MCU film that I could have pictured taking the mantle on this film with the type of content that's in here and making it as awesome as it was.
Absolutely. It's well done. I mean, and that uniqueness, that style really, really kind of kept me engaged the whole time, because it wasn't just hold the camera back and, you know, show a bunch of people doing their fancy hand movements. It was, you were very involved. You're flowing with the action. When he's throwing a spell, you're following the spell until it's exacted. You know, when Scarlet Witch is doing certain things, you're following her movements and her mannerisms to the thing that she's projecting towards. So it felt like there was a force behind the camera that followed with every movement. So it felt like you were in the moment. You were in that spell casting, as opposed to just watching it, which is probably not that exciting. And to me, it isn't.
All of that 100%. And I would also add that he knew exactly which moments to focus on the emotions of our characters on screen.
Oh, yeah.
These are not necessarily, they're not character driven movies necessarily like you would think of for an indie film. But this story is so emotionally driven, especially for Scarlet Witch, for Wanda, where being able to pan in on her face, on Elizabeth Olsen, and see her reaction to things, we don't even need to see what's going on, what she's observing. We can just look at her face, and because of the wonderful performance she put on and the way Sam Raimi was putting all of this together, you knew what was happening. And I love that. And I feel like that's so rare that we have a director who can do all of these different emotions and in a very creative way.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So this ranks high for me in the MCU. I would have to definitely watch it again when I'm not high on my Scarlet Witch vibes to rank it in the MCU properly. But this being a horror type film alone puts it and makes it superior.
I agree with that. I mean, it was nice to see something different, something fresh. It felt like, okay, this I haven't seen in the MCU. I've seen them try a couple different things, and it was hit or miss. This felt like a straight up horror movie, which I absolutely loved. I just loved. I love that concept of it. Just bringing horror to Marvel. I needed to be jazzed up a little bit.
Oh, you got some jazz, all right.
Oh yeah, definitely.
From those hands. So let's talk about the characters of Doctor Strange.
Speaking of jazz hands, he's the king of them.
And their fate in the MCU. We're going to talk about what we think of the characters, including their alternatives in the other multiverses. So, Aaron, start us off with Dr. Stephen Strange.
Oh, we're going to start with the big one. So,
yeah,
I mean, it was interesting to see Benedict Cumberbatch play this character, and he plays multiple versions of this character, because he plays basically Sinister Strange and Corpse Strange. I don't know what you would call that character, but that's what I'm
Evil
going
Dead
with.
Strange.
Very much, right? I mean,
yes,
to me, that
100%.
was a total nod to Evil Dead. And I don't know or Army of Darkness anyway. And I just freaking love the corpse part, because I don't know if that was intentional. It had to be intentional, right? You don't have Sam Raimi behind the camera, and that's not a nod to Army of Darkness.
Oh, for sure.
Or at least a knowing wink, maybe, which is probably the same thing as a nod. But his character, I feel like, again, much more likable in this film than he has been in past. I feel like they're really trying to set him up to be the future leader of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I know Kevin Feige has kind of talked about there's no rush for any new Avengers movies. I think they're going to do like team ups and stuff like that. And that's fine. But I feel like he's going to be shepherding those. He's going to pop up and he's going to be guiding people into certain elements, because they're going to have a monster team up again at some point. There's too much money to be made from that. And I think he's an effective leader. He's a great actor. I mean, across the board, Benedict Cumberbatch is a great actor. And what I found really interesting is when I saw the trailer for this, Sinister Strange, when they showed him, I just thought, this looks cheesy, like so cheesy. Really was not excited about this at all, because of that. I was not excited about getting to that moment because of that performance that I saw in the trailer. Once we got there in the movie, it was a much more layered performance than what I saw in the trailer, which made me happy because I felt like, okay, you didn't show me everything in the trailer for once. And also I feel like you basically impressed me when I was expecting to be unimpressed. So I thought overall Benedict Cumberbatch did a fine job. I just wish his character was a little bit more snarky, more like in the first film. I do think he was a little more likable in this one.
I also felt like he was more of a coward than I expected.
Where do you think he was cowardly?
Well, I mean, in the very beginning when he's going up against Scarlet Witch, I don't know if it's cowardly or if it's just him facing the reality of knowing how powerful she is. And I feel like it was very important for audiences to understand how strong and powerful Scarlet Witch was and why we should be afraid of her. But I did feel like there were moments where Doctor Strange just kind of was like, ooh, no, we shouldn't even try because, like, homegirl's real strong. Maybe we shouldn't even try and do this. And it's like, man, this is all your fault. Let's be honest. Let's be honest here.
Don't you think part of it could just be that he knows Wanda? He obviously cares about what she's been through, so he doesn't want to destroy her. And maybe that could be a factor as well for his reluctance in certain moments.
Sure. I mean, I understand he wants to minimize any fatalities that will, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. He just seemed a little too runaway-ish in this.
See,
he just kept wanting to run away.
I don't think I agree with that. I feel like he was just trying to protect America, and also, which is funny. That's weird. He's going to protect America. And also, I just got the vibe that he felt for her because of what she had been through, because she had been through so much. And, you know, he didn't even blame her for basically holding a whole town under siege.
Which was also weird.
Well, I mean, I get that he forgave her because, you know, he's not really the character. He's not Captain America. You know, he's not going to judge her crazy. You know, he is not going to be that guy. He's just like, hey, we've all done stuff, and he's a narcissist, so he'd probably do some stuff too. So, I mean, I think he probably got it, and it wasn't until she started killing people that he was really not on her side at all. Or, yeah, I mean, he's like, yeah, we can hold her back. She's not really going to hurt anybody. And then she's like popping heads, and it's like, are you sure about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it could be taken a couple different ways. There were just moments for me, not the entire film, but there were just moments where it just didn't feel like the right response from him.
Well, you do. The one thing that I guess I would expect more is that he would be more of a challenge on his own than needing the entire, you know, all of Wong's army there. I felt like you're Stephen Strange. You're supposed to be the Sorcerer Supreme. And you're having a hard time even fending her off on your own, you know? And I thought that was kind of surprising because in my mind, I mean, you know Scarlet Witch better than I do. Maybe she is definitely way more powerful than Doctor Strange. And that seems to be the case because she can destroy shit in multiple universes. On the same token, I would think Doctor Strange would have at least the ability to withstand quite a bit from her before it would really be a factor, you know?
She is definitely more powerful than him, than most of the heroes and villains that exist in the Marvel world. But he also was one of the people who defeated her. So he has a lot more potential. And I think that's what I was trying to get across is like, I felt like he was just trying to evade her because he knew he was scared of her. He knew how powerful she was. But I felt like Doctor Strange would have tried to fight her longer or do something. I don't know. I feel very conflicted in that too at the same time. So
fair enough. You want to move on to Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch?
Boy, do I ever. So I love Wanda Maximoff, and I really do adore Scarlet Witch, as dark as a character as she is. She's definitely the antagonist in this movie, despite seeing all of the monsters. I love the reveal for her character because I knew that there was going to be something where her, you know, her bad hex magic, chaos magic was going to come into play in this movie.
Well, because at the end of WandaVision, you see her reading the Darkhold, right? Like that's what she's doing.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
At the very, very, very last shot or whatever.
Yeah, but it still felt like in the trailers for this movie, at least, she was more of a helping hand. And I feel like we all kind of knew she wasn't going to fully be there, that there was going to be something, but I didn't fully anticipate just how much of a villain she would be in this movie, just because I wasn't sure how much screen time they were going to give her. And lo and behold, she has, and I think there was actually a report that came out a couple of weeks ago that she has almost as much screen time as Doctor Strange himself.
It's true. Yeah.
Which is just crazy. But I do love that we have now a very well-recognized Marvel, I don't want to call her a superhero, but anti-hero, I guess. Someone who's
superpowered being. Superpowered being. That's what she is.
We can do that.
Yeah.
But she's a flawed character. Like she so many times women have to be like the perfect character for people to love them. They have to be like Wonder Woman. Oh, they're so perfect and they're whole and they're just very innocent and they don't do anything wrong. And I love that there's like this really dark humanity in Scarlet Witch where she's willing to do literally whatever it takes to be with her family. I understand she knows no bounds and she gets a little crazy, but I do love that we have a character like this. Yeah, well, okay, maybe a little bit more than a little.
A little. I mean, she's popping heads left and right. She's taking control of her pseudo self so she can kidnap kids that aren't hers. I mean, it's a little
so powerful. Extra. It is very extra, so powerful. But Elizabeth Olsen, my goddamn, she deserves maybe not an award, but a nomination for her performance here. Because full disclosure, I did not think Elizabeth Olsen had some range like this.
Well, she's the best Olsen at this point. I mean, I think
she's
that's
fair. For sure the best Olsen.
Yeah.
Sorry, she makes us forget about the others. Well, you know, they kind of look like they got into a ritualistic cult themselves. Yeah. So, no offense.
Oh, too late. Yeah, too late.
But she had such a great, robust performance here where she really captivated me with being so dark and evil that I wasn't sure if she was going to be able to come back. In the moments where she's lying to Doctor Strange when he first goes to her for help, I didn't know she was lying. I don't know about you, but I didn't know she was lying. I was like, oh, maybe she really did plant all these trees, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't know that she was lying. I didn't know that she was lying. I do wish they would have found a different way to do that because I didn't say that, you didn't tell me the name, has been done about a bazillion times in movies, and I was just like, oh my god, this is the way we're gonna do it. But it was pretty friggin' awesome because I was taken completely by surprise in that respect.
And when the entire world changed around them and it shifted from this very blossoming, beautiful apple trees and flowers everywhere to just complete, it looked like hell, like what I would anticipate
her hell,
the 7 layers of hell. Yeah.
I'm convinced that Marvel movies now, they don't even leave the stage. They're always on the stage. They're inside green screens and that's all they are anymore. They're George Lucas'd up.
That's probably fair. That's probably fair. As someone who didn't know as much about Scarlet Witch or hasn't been like a huge fan of her, what have you thought about her progression as a character and now where she's ended up?
It's kind of funny because, I mean, was it Age of Ultron is when she was first introduced into the MCU, I think?
In the films, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And I do love the fact that she completely lost her accent because it was a bad accent. But I also wasn't a fan of her character probably until maybe Civil War. No, really Infinity War is when I really started to come, all right, this character's kind of cool a little bit. That's a lot more interesting than I thought she was. You know, before I just thought it was kind of, all right, just cheap theatrics and some minor parlor tricks and whatnot. And then you see how powerful she is as she slowly, it's been a really interesting arc for the character, right? Because she started from, she can possess some people's minds and now she's basically just ripping universes apart. I feel like as far as Elizabeth Olsen goes, the performance, she has really impressed me the series and then the Infinity War and Endgame, because they really gave her an arc to play with. And I feel like she really, really nailed it. She's been all over it. You know, like I said, I do feel bad that she basically repeats some stuff here. But on the same token, there are moments in this movie where she is basically Jason Voorhees to an extent. I mean, she just comes through like a raging, psychopathic murderer, straight up murderer. And at the same time, there's always a place in my heart where I can forgive that character. And it's not just because of the kid thing, because I mean, they're not really her kids, so it's weird. It's because of the performance. It's because she keeps humanity, even when she's losing it, even when she has her Carrie moment where she literally has blood everywhere and she's just ripping things apart. She's totally just the end of Carrie at a superhero level. She still never lost me from someone that could forgive that character. Like the character could come back in my heart, you know, and that's impressive. And I think that's because she's earned it over the course of all the movies and her series. So yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised with how much I've come to love Scarlet Witch and actually would like to see her get her own movie.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you're saying about her. And I was not a really big fan of the way that she was portrayed on screen in the beginning, because it just felt like she was really bland and kind of just a throwaway character. But once they really gave her an opportunity, and I was a little hesitant on Elizabeth Olsen in the beginning, just because I didn't know how much range of a performance she could give. But once I started giving her chances, I was like, man, we have to give her more screen time. And as her character is evolved in the franchise, and as Elizabeth Olsen has been given those opportunities, she has fully surprised me and made me happy. Like, she's just so good at it.
She pops heads like nobody's business, man. I want to go through this because it really kind of impressed me. So Professor X, she basically gets him in his own mindset where he's trying to get in her mind. She gets in his and snaps his neck. Fantastic. Mr. Fantastic, which, I mean, we'll talk about the Illuminati, but by the way, nice fan casting. Love that. That's great. Right? John Krasinski. But just shreds his stretchy ass to hell. Black Bolt, which that's Anson Mount. He was in the Inhumans series, which is on ABC. So he is actually returning as a character, but he is a character who's kind of a mute, but he's extremely powerful with his voice or something like that. I mean, I can't remember exactly what his power is, but
yeah, it's essentially once his, like, the echo, the actual
he can't
sound
talk
waves.
Because but that's why he can't talk, because he will kill you or something like that. Mm-hmm. They're so powerful or whatever. And so his superpower is his mouth, and she's like, what mouth? And then just blows his head up. And then
he made a noise. And because his mouth was closed, it couldn't escape anywhere.
Mm-hmm. And it blew his head off.
Blew him up. It was crazy.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
And then you got Captain Carter with Peggy getting sliced by her own shield. And
brutal.
Then, oh my God, and Captain Marvel as well. Like, everybody's just getting destroyed. And I still can come to forgive her later, because that's how cool Elizabeth Olsen is in this role, man. I dig it.
Honestly. And then there was like a little robot head that it was already popped off, but as she's walking by, it's still like making robotic noises. So she explodes that too.
Yeah. Good on her.
Just a savage. She completely demolished all of Wong's little sorcery people. I mean, it was so brutal. And then she started bringing them back to life. And when she does her little zombie walk and she's just like, I don't know, man. It was dark. I loved it.
Oh, she's a straight up serial killer, man. She's straight up mass murder.
She is.
Good times.
As if Westview wasn't bad enough.
And I wonder if that bothers Cumberbatch. You know, it's my sequel, my movie, and she steals every scene she's in, I think. And she's a more interesting character, I think, to me. Anyway,
she is.
You know, but it could be biased. I know you're biased, but I don't know if I could be biased too. I don't know. I'm biased
because he's not as interesting. Like, I gravitated towards her because she's a more interesting character.
Yeah, I gotcha.
We have the Sorcerer Supreme, Wong, who gets way more screen time than I thought he would based on the previous iterations where he's been a part of it. What'd you think of him?
Well, two things. One, Sorcerer Supreme sounds like something I'd order at Taco Bell. So
I thought the exact same thing.
I'm like, I'd like a Sorcerer Supreme on a hard shell if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wong is always good, and I love the character. I like that he gets more to do than just be comic relief here, which is important, I feel like, because he is. I like the bowing thing where Doctor Strange finally bows to him at the end because of the customs.
Oh, yeah, that was cute.
And he acknowledges, hey, you're in this universe, you're the Sorcerer Supreme. Apparently, I'm not the Taco Bell order. But yeah, he got a lot more to do here. I don't know if there's a lot of characters. There's a lot coming from the characters that are already at play. So I don't know if he gets a lot to do, but everything he does get to do, I feel like he contributes in some strong way.
It really felt like even though he's the Sorcerer Supreme, I felt like he was much weaker and much more of a supporting character.
I don't think he's as strong as Strange, right? Yeah, he never seems as strong as Stephen Strange. And I know in the comics, Stephen Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme, which is always kind of I'm getting so hungry now.
I know.
But I know it's kind of weird, but I don't see him in any scene in this movie where I think he should be the guy in charge. Put it that way.
And it's only because Doctor Strange had been blipped away for 5 years. So they had to put somebody in charge. But it just seems like, well, now that he's back, shouldn't he be the Sorcerer Supreme? Shouldn't he get the Taco Bell order?
I promise you, man, like if the CEO of a company leaves, he gets blipped out and he comes back, and then Hank, the janitor, has been running the company the whole time. Hank's probably going to go back. He's going to get demoted. I'm sorry. It's just how it rolls.
You ever think about like people who moved on and found a new relationship? Like they were married, but they thought their person died because they were blipped and then they come back. Like, do they leave their current
It happened.
partner?
Right? Christine Palmer. It happened in this movie.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Flat up addressed it. And you know what I would do? I would go straight. As soon as I got back, I would go to their house, be like, hey, technically we're still married, so this guy needs to leave. Like, I'll do some magic jazz hands and he's going to have no pee-pee and 3 arms. Do you want that? I don't think so.
No pee-pee. Okay,
No
so
pee-pee.
now that we've talked about Wong, let's talk about this new character.
No pee-pee.
Stop.
Wong.
America Chavez. Xochitl Gomez is the actress who plays America Chavez. This character was the second Marvel character to use the moniker Miss America after Madeline Joyce. And Chavez first appeared in Vengeance #1 in 2011, so she's not a character that they just made up for the movie. And she later joined the Young Avengers and then later starred in her own ongoing series called America in 2017. She's also a lesbian and Marvel's first Latin American LGBTQ character to star in an ongoing series. So I thought that was really cool.
Guess Ron DeSantis is going to be shutting down some other Disney stuff now, huh?
Pass the more taxes on to the people.
Sorry. This is probably where some people are going to be like, woke. Whatever. She's a cool character. Well performed. I enjoyed her performance. Xochitl Gomez?
Yes.
I was kind of amazed how quickly she resonated with me, because usually when you get young characters that somebody needs to save, I'm like, oh boy, this is either going to be an engaging character or you just want them to die a horrible death, you know? And she was a quickly engaging character, the kind of character I would want to see again. So I enjoyed her.
I feel like with younger characters, especially when they're coming into their powers, they haven't fully understood it. Sometimes they can be really annoying. Like they'll just refuse. And for her, she had just had such a bad traumatic experience with her powers that she didn't feel comfortable trying to use them and wield them in the proper manner. She was just like, no, I can't do it. I don't know how to control them. And ultimately ends up doing the right thing and really just kind of goes into it and is like, nah, man, I'm awesome. I know what I'm doing. I can do this. And the way that she took Scarlet Witch down, I thought was so smart of her, because she didn't even really need to use much of her powers. Like, sure, she got a couple hits in on Scarlet Witch. And I love that moment where she's like, oh, no. Like, Scarlet Witch is like, you just made a bad mistake. But instead of continuing with a fist battle or a magic battle, she just takes her into the alternate reality where
Not the multiverse.
Other universe.
Yeah, it takes her to the other universe. It's a reality there, just not here.
Yeah. Just so she goes and sees where Billy and Tommy are, and they're scared of her because she just heard what they see is their mom. And she looks like a monster. She has like black hands, like she's been smoking cigarettes for 47,000 years.
Hold up. At no point do I think she looks like a monster. At every point, I'm like, I would let her do this to me. I'm just letting you know. So, no.
Well, okay, but that's maybe you like the crazies, and so you find that attractive.
It's very possible. Yeah. That's
but
the outfit.
you have
cool
to
outfit.
admit, she did look a little monstery, and she was pretty brutal. Like, she just flew herself across the room, like, with no cause, no concern for her, and was just like, no, I'm your mother now. Like, all right, crazy lady. That turns you on, Aaron.
I like that outfit, man. I like the outfit a lot.
It's a great outfit. Such a good outfit.
And I like the black fingers. It's like, I get that's a representation of the Darkhold because Sinister Strange had it too. On the same token, I'm like, hey, that's even cooler than gloves. Who needs gloves when you got like little black fingers? It's kind of cool. And you're right. They do look like nicotine stained fingers. They
do.
Yeah.
But I love that America as a character just said, no, I'm going to show you who you really are right now. And that's how I'm going to take you down. She didn't need all of the magic in the world that Doctor Strange, like, didn't even think about. He wasn't like, let's just show her the reality of how messed up she's being.
Oh man!
But America was like, let me do that.
Yeah, let me show you. Here's your kids. See the kids you think are yours, seeing you for who you are, and you're like, I'm not a monster. I would never hurt anyone. I'm like, bitch, you like popped heads 5 minutes ago. What are you talking about? You wouldn't hurt nobody. Were you not in the room? I don't understand.
Yeah, she's definitely got a higher body count in just this movie than Jason Voorhees in all 47 movies.
It seemed like it. I mean, she's just popping heads left and right. Like, Mama had a baby,
like
and her
little
head
Barbie
popped
dolls. Yeah. But so anyway, we both liked America. I'm sure we'll see more of her going forward. One thing though that is weird, and we kind of mentioned it in the spoiler-free section, but I feel like we should talk about it. Do you understand why she's the only one that doesn't have a copy in any other universe?
My understanding is she's the only one. She's the one that has the power to pop through the multiverse at any given moment to any given multiverse. So therefore, there are no copies because she could be anywhere at any time. You know, it's kind of like when you go to Disney World. There's you'll never see Mickey Mouse in more than one place at the same time. It's like the same concept.
Okay, weird analogy, but also,
hey, it connects.
Why couldn't
Disney owns Marvel?
They own everything.
They do.
They own
except
everything.
Florida. What?
Oh, poor Florida.
Poor Florida.
I feel bad for the taxpayers.
I do too.
So let's talk about Dr. Christine Palmer, played by Rachel McAdams.
Waste of a delicious mole. That's what I'm saying. I feel like
you're so bogus. No. That thing does stand out, though.
It does. It's like, here's a quarter. Go to. That's all I kept thinking was Uncle Buck. Sorry, that's not cool. Rachel McAdams is a beautiful, beautiful woman. It's just a bad joke. Please forgive me. She is a very talented actress. She's a top favorite actress of mine. I mean, just Game Night alone is worth revisiting 1,000 times. I feel like she was wasted here. Happens a lot when you're the girlfriend of a superhero in one of these movies or a boyfriend of a superhero in one of these movies. You kind of get a little bit of a thankless part. I think the story elements were there about what he was missing, what he had to give up, and what he should have said. I don't think it worked as strongly as they think it did. I'm glad that she's there because she definitely elevates the scenes, but I don't think her character really added a whole lot to the movie. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I felt like she was just there to continue to be Strange's kryptonite.
Mm-hmm.
That's really her entire purpose.
Even literally made him kryptonite handcuffs. They're green. They even glowed green. And I'm like, these are literally kryptonite handcuffs to keep him from jazzy hands. And I don't quite understand how this works, but whatever. It's there's no science here. So
yeah, because I feel like as a sorcerer, shouldn't he be able to do some sort of verbal cantrip and do magic? Is that not part of his
I mean, can
repertoire?
he not do the nose twitch or something like Bewitched? I don't know.
Right.
Something.
He should be able to do something. And also his cape. Where was his cape? Why couldn't his cape do some stuff?
Well, they had the cape locked down. Cape was in solitary. Think about what you've done. Think about what you've done.
Yeah, I did like, though, that they didn't make the two of them go to each other's universe to be together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been odd. Right.
Because they acknowledged that, he acknowledges to her, I've loved you in every universe. And she, of course, has feelings for Strange, too. Mm-hmm. So it would have been very disastrous, though, if they would have ended up together, even though that's ultimately everything he wants. And so, I don't know, it would have been a little hypocritical if he destroyed a universe to be with his girl when he just tried to stop Scarlet Witch from doing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I appreciated that didn't happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the Illuminati. We'll just briefly go through what they are, and
or as I like to call them,
kind of talked about who they are. That too.
Yeah.
In this film, we meet them. Mm-hmm. In the universe designated 838, this secret society is comprised of 6 members: Carl Mordo, Professor X, can't believe Patrick Stewart returned for this, Mr. Fantastic, played by John Krasinski, Black Bolt, played by Anson Mount, Captain Carter, with Peggy holding the shield, and Captain Marvel, the Maria Rambeau version, who premiered in Captain Marvel and then was in WandaVision. Each of these members represent a different group of superheroes, and they meet regularly with the aim of exchanging information to prevent wars and conflicts across the multiverse, especially incursions, which we hear a lot about in this movie, where bad things happen when multiverses collide. Mm-hmm. Universe 838's Doctor Strange was also a member, but he was also corrupted by the Darkhold, just like Scarlet Witch, and Strange was killed by Black Bolt, which was really sad.
It was. It was. It was an interesting story element. I was just happy to see John Krasinski because, I mean, so many fans have said, make him Mr. Fantastic, make him and Emily Blunt. It could have been cooler if Emily Blunt showed up too, but that was a fun
that would have
little
been cute.
aside. That was a fun aside. Did you like this grouping, this Illuminati?
I did. Every time they said Illuminati, like, I know this is from the comics, but every time they said the Illuminati, I just had to laugh because it was so cheesy.
Yeah, it is.
It's so cheesy, but I was really excited for these cameos because I thought we were only going to get one awesome cameo, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And instead we get all of these awesome cameos. And I don't know if your theater reacted the way mine did, but they literally clapped for every single person. They were so excited to see them.
Mine did not.
Oh,
They didn't clap at all, actually. They weren't very engaged at all. But I also, my showing was very light. My showing was very, very light. Was yours crowded?
Oh my God, it was sold out. Some lady, so this is at the Dolby AMC where they have like 2 of the reclining seats together.
Oh,
but like
nice.
They're very spacious or whatever. And I had the seat next to me that was empty and some lady snatched it up. So I was sitting like next to all these people. It was just a weird experience to be in a full packed theater. And all of the showtimes for today were like sold out.
That's the best. That's the best.
Yeah, lots of people. I think I might be winning on the summer movie preview episode.
How so?
About which movie is going to do awesome
let's see.
Doctor Strange.
Let's see. You got a whole summer to go. People have to listen to that episode, know what you're talking about. Summer movie preview. It's now in your podcast feeds.
Ooh, good plug. Good plug.
Yeah, I really dug seeing this, and I kind of hope we get one in 616. That's our Earth, right? 616. I hope we get this Illuminati in 616. And doesn't this mean that it's very possible that John Krasinski is actually Mr. Fantastic in our universe too? Because some of these characters are the same people and some are different people.
100%. I feel like this was a test trial to see how people would react to some of these cameos filling the position for these spots. I really feel like that's what it was about, because What If is the Disney series is where we got to see Peggy play the first Avenger.
Captain Britain, right? She was Captain Britain, I think is what. Yeah.
And fans loved that. So I think they knew coming into this that people would cling on to it. And I think there's an opportunity for her to get her own thing and bring her back, which everybody would be excited about. She was awesome. I'm sorry to go back to her.
No, she
was so good, especially in the moments where she's fighting Scarlet Witch. She was such a badass.
When she says, blood.
oh, she spit the blood and she said, I can do this all day. I was like, I'm getting a little turned on right now. This is a good moment. Good for her.
I didn't need her to get to that point before I was there. But
you're like, you saw her appear on screen. You're like, I'm done.
Is stunning. She's a stunning woman. Yep.
She was awesome. Okay. I don't even know what we were talking about. I got so sidetracked.
We're talking about Illuminati,
Peggy
but
Carter.
I think we were moving on. We got 2 cameos we got to talk about before we get into some plot point stuff.
Well, let's talk about Pizza Papa.
Oh.
Go on. Talk about your man.
Okay. You want me to talk? Okay. Bruce Campbell.
He's your man. You got to talk about him.
I have met Bruce Campbell multiple times. I sat next to Bruce Campbell and watched a Bruce Campbell movie once. I love Bruce Campbell. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. And if you know the history, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell came up together. They have been friends since high school. They grew up in Detroit, Michigan. And they made Evil Dead, the whole Evil Dead series. And Bruce Campbell has cameoed in almost every single Sam Raimi movie. In fact, he was supposed to be Mysterio in Spider-Man 4, which would, if it would have happened, he would have been playing Mysterio. So,
oh, wow.
You know, but unfortunately, Spider-Man 4 didn't happen, so he never got that chance. But he's always showing up. So he's Pizza Papa. He's the one that makes the cameos, Pizza Papa. And of course, Sam Raimi makes him punch the shit out of himself, which is totally what he does all the time. In his movies, is he makes him hurt himself constantly. That was a wonderful, fantastic nod to Evil Dead fans, because there's so many nods to the Evil Dead franchise in here, in Army of Darkness especially, that when he starts beating the shit out of himself, it just brought me almost to tears of joy. I was just so excited. And especially at the end where he finally stops and he's like, it's over, which is basically the movie's over. And I was like, oh my God, that was a cool double entendre. Very clever. I like that. So everything about Bruce Campbell's cameo was great.
I got so excited when I saw him on screen. Nobody but me made a noise. I was like, Bruce Campbell.
Are you kidding?
And then I think, once they finally,
Children.
and he took off his like hat or whatever it was at the end in the stinger, then everybody laughed and like kind of clapped and everything. And I think they finally realized who he was. But it was so perfect the way that Sam Raimi plugged him in. It was just like,
It did. Yeah, it was great.
In the exact right moment, unexpecting a cameo like that, and Bruce Campbell just pops up, and then 3 weeks later he's done punching himself in the face.
So fun.
I love it.
That was great.
And then we get another cameo played by an actor that I know you're also a very big fan of. Clea, played by Charlize Theron, is a sorceress, not a witch, who is at least as powerful as Doctor Strange. What'd you think of this?
Do you have any background on this character? I don't know this character at all.
In the comics, she's the niece of Dormammu. I don't know if that's how you say it. Dormammu?
I've heard
Whatever.
both ways.
The first Doctor Strange is Big Bad and an inhabitant of the Dark Dimension who ends up being Doctor Strange's love interest. And eventually, after he dies, she is the replacement as Sorcerer Supreme.
Oh, okay. But she's from a different... And she has the same power, so she can
Right.
segue into multiple
And that's what we
multiverses.
get the glimpse of, and why she was like, you did some stuff.
I feel like
You did
that's,
some stuff.
it feels right. Like he's always doing stuff. I didn't know enough about the character to really get excited about that, but it was cool seeing Charlize Theron. I mean, but I had no idea who Clea was. I had no idea.
Me either. I did research afterwards because I'm like, I have to know what Charlize is doing here other than being beautiful and amazing.
It's kind of hard to be ugly. You know?
God.
Even when she played ugly and got the
I
Oscar,
was just
she's
gonna
still,
say that.
you know,
It's hard for her to be ugly. Even when she's ugly, she's still pretty.
yeah. So that sounds like a cool character. It'll be interesting to see if she actually has more to do, like if she comes back in a Doctor Strange 3, or is this kind of a one-off, like just to get fans talking? I'm sure she'll be back.
She's going to be part of it because I think now they've got to incorporate her character, Doctor Strange's character, Wong's character, and probably America's character in a follow-up to the big mess that was made in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Because Doctor Strange killed one of his versions too, who was a big bad. And now he dabbled into the dark hold. And so will that affect him? Will it not affect him? What about the multiverse? What are the implications? Because as we know from Spider-Man and everything else, one thing happens in the multiverse and it affects everything else. So
right.
I'm sure she'll be back.
I hope so. I really do.
Let's talk about some of the main plot points. We'll just kind of go through some of the big things that happen in the movie and talk about what we thought of them. So we open with Doctor Strange being pulled away from... Well, first he has this nightmare where this fight is going on. And America shows up.
Yes, this is one thing that I think is worth talking about. That's a cool idea. The idea that your dreams, your nightmares, whatever the things that happen to you that you think about when you're sleeping are actually... You're actually pulling from the multiverse, things that actually happen. That's a very cool concept that I thought was unique and interesting and really, really impressed me. Now, if that's in the comics, I've never seen it. So that was I thought that was very exciting, very smart.
And also that it wasn't just a cheap play where, he has visions. And so that's how he saw her in his dream. It was like, no, you experienced this in your dream because it happened with another version of you. And I think that's also kind of daunting to think about. Like when we all go to sleep at night tonight and we have dreams, when we wake up in the morning tomorrow, we're going to wonder, is this because there's another version of me out there who is fighting off snakes in my car?
I don't think I'll be wondering that because this is fictional.
You don't know that.
Fictional.
You don't know. You don't know.
100% certain this is fictional. There's no debate. Do you think it's real?
No, not the movie. The movie's not real, but we don't know that the multiverse isn't real.
Yes, I do.
No, we don't.
There's no ghosts either. Yeah, sorry, not to break it to you, but that's just the way things are.
Well,
that's my
Doctor
reality.
Strange completely just takes all the attention away from the bride on Christine's wedding day so he can go out and save America, who's being hunted by monsters with ruin symbols.
They should have changed her name because every time somebody says he's going to go, he saves America. I'm like, wait, what again?
She also goes by USA in some of the comics, and I don't know which one makes me laugh more. Like, gotta save USA or go USA, Team USA. Like,
what did Doctor Strange do? Did he magically impose term limits? I don't understand all this. How did he save America?
But I do love that we have this really fun, bombastic opening where we get to see how the multiverse is all connected, and we get to see Doctor Strange being really, really cool. Like he pulled a very Tony Stark moment to just be like, hold my drink, and throws his cape on and flies away to defeat monsters.
That was badass.
It was super cool.
The way that he dropped off the belt, that was another that's as soon as I'm like, this is such a Sam Raimi movie. I love this. Where it just throws on the cape and just falls and flies. That's such a fluid, I love that moment. It was so beautifully shot.
It was very cool.
Or orchestrated in a lab somewhere, whatever.
Doctor Strange ends up visiting Wanda for her help because he connects the ruin symbols on the monster with witchcraft and says, hey, I know somebody who can help with this. Let's go to Wanda. And that's where he learns that she is the one who's behind it because of that stupid moment where she's like, oh, you didn't tell me her name was America, did you?
God, it was such a great moment ruined by that one lame plot device that we've seen 1,000 times before. It's like, that's always how people get caught. Jesus, stop learning people's names, man. Something.
I would have loved for him to not understand that those ruin symbols were ruin symbols and for him to connect it and she doesn't realize that he connected it. And so he tries to go up to defeat her without her knowing she's been figured out. And so she continues to try to play innocent, and all the while Doctor Strange is like, no, I know, behind her mask. You know what I mean? Like, I think cool. That would have been really fun. Could have
been fun, but I like seeing her murder people a lot. So
for sure. Well, ultimately she has to murder people, otherwise it's not the same movie.
It's true story. True story. Speaking of her murdering, why does she murder people, Amanda? Why does she do it? Why?
Anything that gets in her way. The thing to remember, too, is that Scarlet Witch isn't out to kill people, but Scarlet Witch is also affected now by the Darkhold, which will make you do things that you probably never would have. And you don't realize how bad it's just completely taking over you, like a parasite or something. Like you're not being possessed, but you can see in the fingers. And that also takes us back to WandaVision, where we saw how it affected, what's her face? I can't remember her name right now.
Agatha?
Agatha.
Because it was Agatha.
It was Agatha all along. But I do like that it's kind of a way for her to then have to be forced into that grief again without it being a core part of who she is. Like, she isn't necessarily a murderer. She just had an objective.
Yes, she is. She's still a murderer. She's still straight up popped head. She's killing people left and right.
But it was like under the possession, like the Darkhold had a grasp on her, and it makes you do really evil things. It changes who you are.
Sure, but she still killed them.
She did. And speaking of the Darkhold.
Yeah, thank you.
Go ahead.
No, I want you to elaborate on the Darkhold. That's what I was hoping you were going to talk about.
It's also known as the Book of Sins, the Book of Spells, and the Book of the Damned. It is an ancient book of spells and unspeakable power made of dark matter from the dark dimension. So we talked about Clea a little bit ago, Charlize Theron's character that's going to be coming back. She was from the dark dimension, and that's where the book is made from. It's made from dark matter from that dimension.
Okay.
But it does take a toll on its reader. So even though there's all of this, it's basically the necromancer. Like, all the stuff that you shouldn't be touching and you shouldn't be getting into, that's what this book is.
The Necronomicon?
Yes, I'm sorry. What did I say?
Necromancer.
Oh, necromancer.
Totally
no,
different.
That's not what I meant.
Necronomicon. That's from Sam Raimi's world.
Yes. That's why this also felt like the perfect entry point for Sam Raimi to come back into directing these films.
Oh, God. It's so good to have him back.
It is.
He has such a vision, and he doesn't just do the same shots everybody else does. It isn't so Marvel, textbook Marvel, I guess, And Taika Waititi kind of does his own thing a little bit, but I felt like this is the first time I really felt the filmmaker's vision shine. So,
but basically, this Darkhold book will corrupt anybody who reads it. Okay. I mean, that's really what you want to take away from it, is how much of a demise it will have on you. And then we just so happen to have the perfect counterpart, which is the Book of Vishanti. And it basically is just the undo book for all of the bad spells of
undo book.
The Darkhold. It's so funny to me that it's just like, well, we just gotta...
the little half circle with an arrow on the cover. I should have done that.
Yeah. It's just so funny to me because it's like, wow, we have this really terrible thing happening and she has all of the dark magic and all of the bad spells in the world. What are we going to do to defeat her? Well, there's a book that tells us that will give us everything we need to defeat her. La-di-da-di-da. Let's just go get the book. It's just very convenient.
It makes it easier, really. I mean, when you have everything in a pamphlet, it does make it easier.
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
I do like
when
that.
You're dealing with magic, I mean, there's really no rules, so just whatever. I didn't care about any of this. I'm just like, just pop some heads, blow some people up. Murder, murder, murder.
One thing, though, that I wondered is for a lot of there's not any accuracy to this, but in other contexts, for sorcerers and witches and all of that, they can remember spells. So why couldn't she just remember the spell that she literally just cast? Like, did she actually need the book? Because remember, the book gets incinerated.
Oh, yeah.
And she's like, hold on, I need the book to redo my spell so she can dream walk again. She couldn't remember the spell that she literally just did? Or is it just that complicated that nobody can remember them?
It's that complicated. And if you remember Army of Darkness, to throw back to Raimi, if you don't say the words right, it messes everything up. Nicoratu. Yeah, that's people that saw that movie understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. We do.
Nectu.
Anyway, that's just one little problem that I have with this, is it just seemed very convenient that she couldn't just start back up her spell or absorb it. Like a lot of witches in other franchises and worlds and stuff, they can actually just absorb and remember all of the spells that they've learned.
She's tired, man. She's been wiping people out left and right. She's tired. Memory is not what it used to be.
She's been remembering this book, reciting it to memory for a year, though.
I am spent. I just got beat by a corpse. I am done. This game is over.
We kind of already talked about Doctor Strange ending up in another universe with America. They end up getting trapped for those experiments and studied by Dr. Christine, and we meet the Illuminati. But was there any other feelings or thoughts you had on that segment of the movie?
Just that battle. I know we talked about the murders and whatnot, but that entire battle with the Illuminati, I thought was probably a highlight. Like when she goes full Carrie mode, which is what I keep calling it, because the end of Carrie, that's what Carrie does.
Yeah.
She goes full Carrie mode. I just thought that was phenomenal. And I loved that whole scene. I thought it was shot brilliantly. It was just eclectic. It was masterfully lit and set up. I was very impressed with that particular scene, that scene in particular. I just thought, wow, I really am kind of afraid of Elizabeth Olsen right now.
Yeah. Also, okay, so this is another area where it's like, I loved the moment, but I also had a moment where it was like, maybe you should still run and not stop and wait. So after Wanda uses her Darkhold magic to dreamwalk into the body of herself from another universe and kills all of the Illuminati, she does all of that great, crazy stuff. She's chasing them as a Carrie zombie through this like tunnel underground. And they put these doors down and she keeps blowing them up. And then the last door comes down and they're just standing there waiting for her to come through, I guess, just so they can drown her. But I'm like, wouldn't it be easier to just, instead of spending an extra minute standing there staring, waiting for her, to just run away? Just keep going. Don't stop. You don't stop to see if the demon's going to come back.
Or make a portal and leave.
Yeah, or make a portal and leave.
Punch your ass a portal and leave. I mean, she was scared at that moment, right? Why isn't there a portal popping up? Let's go.
That's a good point, too. I was thinking about Strange creating a portal, but yeah, she could have gotten out. She was afraid.
Yeah, go to another multiverse or whatever.
I normally don't love jump scares, but I freaking loved the jump scare when they're waiting for her and America says, where did she go? And she just pops up off the side, like half deteriorated face looking with blood all over her and guts and everything.
I wouldn't call her a zombie because she was still alive, right? She was,
but she looked like a zombie and she walked like one. Mm-hmm. She was like dragging her foot. I was like,
yeah, she had that T-1000 vibe going.
I was like, are you trying to audition for The Walking Dead right now?
It's pretty good. I did like how she just popped out of nowhere, and I'm like, nobody looked to the right? I don't understand why you're all so scared.
How did she get there is what I want to know.
I don't know, but the peripherals are very bad.
There was a door. There was a wall. So she didn't I don't know, man. I guess she portaled through the wall. Whatever. Speaking of dreamwalking, Doctor Strange, when he says, who says they need to be alive? And it goes back to his corpse that's just laying there and its arm pops out.
I applauded.
Very Sam Raimi.
I applauded. I did.
So freaking cool, man.
That was just so great. Because as soon as he said you have to have somebody in the other universe, whatever, and I'm like, wait, hang on, the body? Oh my God, no, they're not gonna. And they did. And I'm like, yes. And I just started to clap. And I'm like, they did something wild. I love it.
It was so ballsy. This whole movie is very ballsy. Yeah. But did you expect when they buried that body for it to come back into play later like this?
Once they started showing the dream walking, I wondered, because once you see Sinister Strange, I'm like, wait, I wonder if they're going to go back to that corpse that's there. I didn't think it was going to use it like that. I thought it would be something, we need something from this world or something, one of those things. We're going to make him go on an errand. So we're going to weekend at Bernie's Strange.
Make him go on an errand. Hey, we need to get groceries. We need your help before we go home.
Like there's a book in that world and he needs to walk over and get it. I thought maybe they'll do something like that. I did not see that he was going to have a full-on battle with them, which was just great. It was just great. Yeah.
Oh, it was so fun.
It was cool.
I did not expect it. In the moment and we'll talk about, I guess we can kind of move into it, but
just go ahead.
When America is learning how to use her power and he frees her and he's telling her as this corpse with a zombie deteriorated mouth, you can see all of his teeth and everything and they don't line up perfect. And it's just, oh my God, it's so brutal. And he's trying to give her this pep talk and make her feel better as as a zombie. This dead corpse is just like, first of all, it's got to stink. It's a rotting corpse.
Well, I don't think she's really taking a whiff of him. She's kind of just trying to get the pep talk in and go, all right, so I need to give her some more time. Got it.
But I love the reality of that experience. Like, she truly feels like she's probably going to die and has no hope. She's about to lose her power. And Doctor Strange is like, no, girl, you got this.
Yeah.
With missing face. And these creepy little demon spirits clinging onto him like a cape or bat wings to help him fly or something. It's just wild. Oh my God. I just realized we didn't talk. Well, okay, maybe we're not there yet. But the moment where Doctor Strange fights Doctor Strange and the music notes happen.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That was so creative. That was the very, very weird, but so freaking creative.
I really, really loved Danny Elfman did the score here. And Danny Elfman and Sam Raimi have a long history of working together. I think he did the Army of Darkness score for like $1 or something. I mean, they've been friends forever.
Oh.
Yeah. And he did the original Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man. And so it was great to see him back. And you could see the touches that were flourishing in that moment. And that was so clever, where you have the musical notes popping off and then they're making different musical sounds. And as each one hits, it's a different kind of note. And you get like even the little guitar riffs and it just innovative, man. Just so innovative. And interesting. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because we did totally forget to talk about it. It was a great battle. And the fact that they made it interesting and it wasn't just jazz hands, wax on, wax off, and all that I've already talked about. It felt unique and its own thing, which was great.
Oh, it was so cool.
This movie's better than I think. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments, and it's not even set pieces by any means. It's just really creative and fun and interesting scenes or moments that I was basically just blindsided. I didn't expect them to happen. And in that moment, like the music carries into as not just a weapon, it's being weaponized. The actual physical notes off the paper, which was so cool.
So cool.
But then the score helps, like how they use that, it heightens the entire moment and the tension, and it builds. And it's like music is fully like a character in this moment, in this scene. And that was just really...
That was extremely clever, and we didn't talk about the reflection scene.
Oh, yeah.
Earlier, where Scarlet Witch finds a way in by going through reflections in the mirrors. And that was really cool, too. So, I mean, there's a lot of creative, innovative set pieces that are at play here. And I'm sure this movie cost $1 bazillion, and it shows, like it's on screen.
Oh, my God. When her body comes out, so she's from the reflections.
Oh, and she does the whole ring thing.
And it convulses. Oh, my God. Yeah. I definitely cringed, but was also clapping like, oh, this is so freaking cool, man.
I was waiting for her to be like, Strange, 7 days.
She throws a VHS tape at him.
Which multiverse still has a VCR? Damn it.
Oh, that's so funny. We definitely talked about Wanda as a super monster, controlling other Wanda's body and then scaring Billy and Tommy. I have to think, though, that at some point that was, I mean, it was for Scarlet Witch, she is very much ruled by emotion. That is probably why I resonate and like her character so much, is because she lives, breathes, and all of that is from her emotions. And if anything could take her down, I felt like it had to be something related to her emotions. And you can't use it. You can't weaponize her kids against her. Like at one moment, somebody had said, imagine how your kids would feel about this or whatever. And she's like, don't you even bring my kids' names into your mouth, girl. I'll kill you. But when she's faced with the reality of it, it was like so powerful enough to break her bond with the dark hold that it had on her and brought her back to her reality. And I just love the fact that throughout all of these stories with Wanda and Scarlet Witch, they've kept it to the core of her emotions being able to make or break her.
Well, she's lost a lot more than most of the people in this MCU. I mean, she lost her brother. She lost her lover twice. Their kids, even if they weren't her kids, she thought they were her kids. I mean, she's lost a lot.
Oh, that moment when she says they're not even like real. They're not even your kids. They're made with magic or whatever. And she's like, that's how all mothers make their kids, with magic or whatever. This is like a little creepy. I'm feeling like a little Annabelle doll here.
Yeah. And I just want to tell him, like, no, it's usually because somebody forgot condoms. I don't know. I don't know why you think that's magic, but
this is because the Catholic Church is against birth control, ma'am. But also, she completely sacrifices herself. Once again, she does the right thing. She's compounded with grief, and she makes the right call.
Once again, she does the right thing after she killed a bunch of people. But sure, yeah, she did the right thing.
She did, but I'm saying, like, in WandaVision, she did the right thing ultimately at the end.
Sure.
She does the right thing again here, because that's the core of Scarlet Witch. She doesn't want to be evil and bad. It's just she wants to try to, her emotions fuel her, and then the Darkhold takes over. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, because her concept here is that she brought the house down on herself to take care of the Darkhold so nobody else could ever use it. Do you think she died?
That's what I wonder. There's a moment where the building, all of it crumbles, and you see this red glimmery, which we presume to be her and her magic, because that's what it looks like.
And she kind of
I don't know.
That kind of happened when she popped Anson Mount's head, or Black Bolt's head. It kind of happened there. You saw that red poof too. So I think it could go either way. That could be an implication that she was crushed or that she escaped, right? I figure it could go either way.
Yeah. But ultimately she knew that she had to bring that building down, and she had to be the one to do it. So I don't know. It just...
What's your gut say?
My gut says that she's not really dead, because I just don't trust Marvel. I feel like they've gotten a little gimmicky with the multiverse and people being dead, that she'll return in one fashion or another.
I feel like it would be stupid to kill the character, because she's just hit the height of her popularity. So, I mean, why would you kill the character? People are going to forgive her for murdering all these people. And also, Doctor Strange alludes to that she destroyed the Darkhold in every universe. And in my mind, so that means she can jump multiverses now somehow. Or I guess she could sleep. She's sleepwalking. She's doing that at least. And that would mean that she had to live, because how could she do it to all of them otherwise? She only had a few seconds, so she couldn't communicate with every multiverse in those seconds. In my mind, that's what I see. That they're telling us she's still alive. She's still out there somewhere.
She fully can travel between the universes. I don't know if the Scarlet Witch... I know Scarlet Witch as a character is not going to go away for the MCU. I just don't know if it's going to be this 616, is that our code? Mm-hmm. The 616 version, or if it's going to be maybe the 838 version, or who we're going to pull from. But I have to imagine that there's got to be... When we follow up and we work with Charlize Theron's character and all of that, they've got to do some... remediation services on these other universes, because 838 Wanda has no idea what the hell just happened, other than some crazy lady who looks like her tried to tell her kids that, no, I'm your mommy now. So, we've got to do something here, because some things just got really messed up. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she's truly dead. It's kind of the one question that really lingers for me. To kind of wrap up the film, Doctor Strange defeated his evil eye self, his sinister Strange. The Darkhold did get destroyed. They did say that the books were copies, but they were mirrored off of the inscriptions in that temple throne for Scarlet Witch thing.
Yeah. And
America, and Wong all returned to Earth 616, where they get to go amongst their lives. Did you feel like this was a pretty, too easy wrap up for everything, or do you feel like it fit right?
No, not really, because he doesn't get the girl, obviously. Christine is married to someone else. He's got a third eye now, which we don't know exactly what that can do, except, maybe it looks into people's minds. There's a lot of things that you can perceive that the third eye is doing, but he's got one, and I assume, please don't let it pop up all the time. Just let it be when he really needs it, because it's a weird effect. But yeah, no, so I don't think it was easy, and poor Scarlet Witch might have died, maybe didn't, maybe did. So, no, I don't think it was too easy. I felt like it was a very earned ending. And it wasn't 3 hours long, which was great.
There were moments where I felt like it was a little long, like, maybe we don't need all of this.
I didn't. I was energized the whole time. I never thought it was boring.
I didn't think it was boring. I was just like, this, maybe not all of these scenes are necessary, sort of thing.
I just felt like it was cracking. It was going. It's popping.
So speaking of the third eye, that is what evokes the Eye of Agamotto, the magical pendant that Strange wears around his neck. In the MCU, once contained the Time Stone. In the comics, the Eye of Agamotto is a little different. Instead of holding the Time Stone, it gives Strange a sort of third sight, allowing him to see into the true nature of things. And when he uses it, a third eye appears on his forehead.
Okay. Very cool. I think we've talked about everything in this movie.
Yeah, we really have. Is there anything for your favorite moments that we haven't talked about that you wanted to mention?
I mean, I talked about Sam Raimi. I feel like this is kind of the most independent vision of all the MCU films. I'm sure somebody will say Thor Ragnarok, but I wasn't a big Thor Ragnarok fan, so this is more my speed. Loved having horror. Loved a lot of the moments. I mean, there's definitely some issues here and there. I'm still kind of confused as to why we needed to have Wanda go through the same arc again, but whatever. It was still a very good movie, and she was a great villain, and a very realized villain. So, favorite moment would be Elizabeth Olsen's performance. Probably, she was just electric.
Was there a particular, like a specific moment of hers that you thought was the best?
I already talked about it. Killing everyone in the Illuminati.
When she killed the Illuminati.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean the attack on Wong's fortress was pretty good too. How she got into their heads and broke down their strong points. But that was a lot of the hand waving stuff that I was talking about earlier that doesn't really impress me that much. But the Illuminati was a full on battle, and she's basically taking on the Avengers of that multiverse, and she just dispatched them like they weren't even there. And that was way better than Thanos. And I'm just like, man, imagine if she would have been fully powered when Thanos showed up. What a simple fight that could have been.
Truly. Honestly, she could have taken him down so easily.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the Illuminati scene as like probably my favorite scene as a whole, but there's one moment that literally brought me to tears because I wasn't sure how Scarlet Witch we were going to get and how dark we were going to get. And the moment I realized it is when she's talking to Doctor Strange and she's telling him how reasonable she's been. And she says something to the effect of like, me sending monsters was me giving her mercy.
Yeah, that was great.
And she says like something about how she, it's when when Scarlet Witch comes after her instead of Wanda, that's when she's not reasonable anymore.
Yeah.
And it was just like such a strong moment. I can't remember her exact quote, but it was so freaking awesome. I loved her delivery in it because it felt so like I felt like the evil was in my body. Like that's how intense it was. And she is telling Doctor Strange and everybody else around her, you may think you know me as Wanda, but you don't know Scarlet Witch, honey.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you're in for. Mm.
I feel like my favorite other moment that I haven't mentioned is probably when Wanda from 838, I guess, says they will be loved. That's all she says to Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And I thought that was, I'm like, so it wasn't a big monologue or speech. It was just very simple, and we got the point, and it was very, very poignant.
Yeah, that's a great moment.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for this episode.
Oh, I should mention Mordo, that he came back, and in this other universe, he still doesn't like Strange. So, that was great.
I like that he called him out on being jealous.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good. The greatest threat to our universe is you, bitch. You're the problem. You're the problem. So that's funny. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to do it. That's it. Wrap it up, Amanda. We're out of here. Let's go see Doctor Strange again.
Well, you can send all of your thoughts to feedback@thehollywoodoutsider.com. Make sure you join our Facebook group where we post our normal episode weekly topic in the group, and you can put your thoughts in there to be read on the show. You can also find us on Twitter @BuyPopcorn. Make sure to find us at thehollywoodoutsider.com or your favorite podcast app. If you subscribe and leave us a review, we definitely appreciate that. Word of mouth helps share the show Well, of course it does. Sharing the show with your friends means a lot to us. So definitely do that. Thank you. And remember, the next time you head to a theater to see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, again, buy popcorn. I really fucked up that whole outro.
Hey, and then you dropped the F-bomb for no reason. I just way to R-rate the podcast now. Now we're...
Oh, I didn't know you were going to keep that in there.
Nah, we're done.